All right, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming into today's webinar. I'm excited to have Amar from SendMate here. We've been chatting a lot and lately. Uh, we're very aligned with things that we do, and I said, who could be a better person to interview today or talk today about 2021 hiring trends and strategies. Our business has changed a lot since COVID, and I'm sure everyone's seen that since started of this pandemic. So, uh, as you guys know, 2021 is going to be hopefully an exciting year. We're going to have a new uh, president, new opportunities, new changes, and I want to discuss with you guys today some of the things that I see as a business owner and as well as an entrepreneur that's handling and managing other people's hiring processes that I've seen. So one of the first things I want to cover is the 7 hiring trends and strategies. So let's get started with the first one. We see that number one will be a more diverse workforce. That means that we should be including everyone in the workforce, hiring and finding people from other places that we've never tried before. This is very true, and I've spoken to Mark Baker from Motivated Mates. He's one of the largest Canadian cleaning services, and he has a particular system in way he hires people. But the core of the call that I had with him is that he gives the opportunity to really anyone that has the skill set to clean. Most times, since we interview people face to face, we tend to go by the looks most of the time, how they dress, how they talk. But in reality, there's more than that. There's really the most important part is that they are reliable, that they can commit to showing up to the job every day, and that they can follow instructions. We see that these following instructions is something that not everybody can do, and in this job, specifically cleaning homes, we need to become really good at following instructions, and those people will be your A players, your rock stars. And I've seen it with my own employees, people that I don't think they're going to do well, but suddenly when I see them working, following instructions, they make happy clients, and that's what we want. Happy clients. After everything we do, we just want happy clients to refer us to more happy clients. So that's kind of number one. And second point in that is obviously I speak Spanish, and I hire mostly Hispanic people, but I've seen a lot of friends and colleagues that don't hire people that speak Spanish, or excuse me, that don't speak English fluently, because they feel they're gonna you know make some of their customers uncomfortable. But in reality, Hispanic labor is just one of the most amazing labor that you can get in the US. In my company personally, I don't restrict anyone if they don't speak perfect English or communicate to be able to not hire them. uh, they have to have some basic English proficiency, but for me it's not a showstopper. I really find that people that come especially from Central America tend to become really committed to working, and they have all the energy, all the focus to do the job. And for me, people from that region of the world tends to be some of the most amazing candidates and talents that we can get for cleaning services. One of the issues that we see normally is that people, their applications are always in English completely. And I found that by making Spanish and English applications allows us to get more applicants in the door. So we open up within our system a section for Spanish and English, and basically that brings in more people. And I've seen that more people apply in Spanish than in English. So if you're missing out on this market of Hispanic applicants, don't let them put you off because the English level. We all need an opportunity to let those people get into our companies. I don't know if you have a point there, Amar, something you want to add to this first point of more diverse workforce?
No, I mean, I would just say, I mean, that's very much like in line with, yeah, with my thinking on 2021. I love the idea of a more diverse workforce, and in particular, I like what you're touching on there of like, it's not just about like, oh, being open-minded to hiring more like Spanish speakers. It's also about actually creating a friendlier work environment and a friendlier company to those specific people. And so in some places, you know, if you're like in Chicago, for example, it might be more Polish speaking people, but there are lots of great people that are used to cleaning, you know, in their home countries or, you know, like their parents'
Correct.
home countries or whatever, that they're well qualified for this and can make absolutely superb employees for you.
Yeah.
I feel it'd be I feel like you know, one way that you can do that. I feel bad for plugging my own product here, but if you use ZenMaid actually offers all of those translations. So in terms of creating a more like friendly you know, environment for those employees, you can automatically translate your ZenMaid application, the mobile apps that they'll use, and the web apps into Spanish, and actually, as of like maybe 3 or 4 hours ago, Polish as well. So just as another way that you can make that
Great.
even more friendly.
Perfect. Yeah. You know, in San Francisco, especially, I lived there probably 10 years ago, and the Portuguese market, the Brazilian people were the ones that dominated cleaning in San Francisco. So, you know,
Yep.
Portuguese people, they're another set of people that we're not talking to because we never meet them, but they are out there and they do great work.
Yep.
So, you know, it's
Yeah,
really about
absolutely.
making and including everyone into your companies. Obviously, making the whole process as you normally will hire somebody, but just making sure that for this 2021 you open your mind for a more diverse workforce.
Yeah,
Cool.
perfect.
Let's move on to number two. It will be a better company employee relationship. Uh, Obviously, during this COVID situation, you know, people had more issues, more things that prevent them to come to work on time. I feel like this year we had to become a bit more compassionate and flexible to our employees, because, you know, in these times you can be very strict. You have to be that place of I will say of confidence that you can open yourself up and tell your boss what's going on in your business. I have especially one lady that's been on and off working with me because she has to take care of her partner with a cancer situation, but she's a great worker. And we allow her to really, in the last year or so, you know, be out on a temporary leave of absence, uh, because she's a great worker. But you know, in the past, I would probably fire her. But right now, with all what's going on, I was like, you know, we're just gonna be more compassionate. We're gonna build better, stronger relationships. So when this person is finished with this cancer situation, she's gonna come back to the company, work amazingly, and be loyal to our company. So I feel that we have to make those employee relationships stronger. We always want to keep them within within the structure of a professional relationship, but you want to make sure that that people feel loved, feel cared for, and that's something that I've experienced myself every time in our company, because they tell us, hey, Juan, Karen, I feel that you guys transmit this love to us, and then we bring this love to our customers and they feel it. And that's what they told me in this last weekend that we had our Christmas event. They said we bring this love that you're giving us, this compassion to our customers, and they feel it. And that's something that I just learned pretty much this past weekend, is like, we have to become this type of person to really love our employees and they will love our clients. There's not going to be a perfect cleaner ever. There's not going to be a perfect cleaning system or anything that was going to make the cleaning perfect, but you can always love people more, extend more your hands of compassion, and these people will become loyal to your company. And when you have loyal employees, you will have eventually great customers. And that's something that I've proved, in the last 16 years. I've seen it in my business. And that's basically what company relationship means. And the last point is that they will bring referrals to you. So no more spending on all these ads. In the last year, I've literally spent $0 on Indeed or in Facebook ads. I just post on Facebook ads, but all our candidates have been coming through referrals from all my current employees. So that's basically what number two will mean. Any points there, Amar, you want to add to better employee relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one that I think everyone, like, this year has sort of forced our hands with that, but I think everyone could have benefited from that in the past. I like that point of just like being compassionate about the stuff, and like a lot of this comes down to there's a lot of very random benefits to doing this, that like sometimes you'll treat an employee really well, you'll be really patient with them, and they'll still leave at an inopportune time, but the goodwill that it brings with the employees that stay, or even employees that leave that then refer you clients or refer you employees in the future, there's a lot of benefits to just treating people in that way, that have then made, I think we've had 3 team members that came down with COVID, that all of them were hourly, and we just continued to pay them for their normal hours, but told them to just take as many like weeks off as they needed to recover. And like that's something that even if they were to leave the company tomorrow, I know that that was the right thing to do, and it really does go a long way in terms of culture, in terms of how they publicly represent our company. So yeah, love those points.
Cool. Great. Thank you. All right, let's move on to number 3, company culture and branding. So I think, as you know, there's more cleaning companies every single day. It has become really popular to run a cleaning service in the last years. I think you're going to have to really execute on implementing that company culture and branding. And I define company culture as the personality of your company within your workforce and clients. And this starts from the moment they visit your website, apply for a job, until they meet you in person or in Zoom for an interview. Every of these touch points matter a lot. And I refer to one of my favorite company cultures is Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, I love their funny signs, colorful walls, their Hawaiian shirts, and the unique ways they do things. But more importantly is the people. If you approach them anytime, they have this cool vibe and this real knowledge about their location. And I think as a cleaning business owners, we can create great company culture within our businesses. We might not have all these, cool things that they have, but we have the people, and that is the most important asset in our business. Uh, don't forget that, as there's more competition, the more and the clearer is your brand, your focus, your message is going to help you stand out a lot. And I'll tell you, back when we started in 2004, and by 2009, we had a different name in my business. It was called BioClean Maid Service. And back then, that was a company similar that we used to do, like crime scene cleanup. And my company was getting confused with this type of company. So I really invested in reading a lot. I read a book called 21 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And this book taught me how to brand my business even better. And I recommend that you read that book if you really want to execute a better branding and culture for this year, 2021. When I read that book, I changed my whole company branding, the name, I redesigned logos, everything. And as of today, when I hear clients mentioning why they picked our business, most of them say, I love your branding, your image. I feel it's the right message. I like that it's green, non-toxic, and I love the name. So I really want you to take a time this year, 2021, and see how you can make your branding better, because it's going to make a big point and a big part of separating yourself from competitors and giving you an edge on marketing. All right. Let's jump on to number four. Use of applicant tracking systems. Hiring has become the most difficult part of our business for obvious reasons. And that's mostly for all industries or service industries. But for us, the cleaning businesses, we have to make sure that we're hiring the right person for the right position. This is not like a cashier's position that anyone can just stand in front of a register and pass on products. This is really, we have to hire really people with the right talent, the knowledge, the attitude, the heart. And that's one of the main reasons I built Pipe Hire, is to help other business owners that I knew were struggling with this process. So you don't really have the time to sort manually anymore, looking for the right candidate. The system allows you to do that automatically. So when you get people in your funnel, you see qualified, unqualified, and that will help you move faster uh, with the A players. When you have many applications coming in and you have, to decide, then it's gonna take forever. So Pipehire allows you to see through a scoring system who is the right person that you want to talk to. Why is important to act quickly? Because A players tend to move on or get into jobs very quickly. When you see great talent and they're applying at multiple places, whoever calls them first, give them an interview and offer them a job, they will get into that position. So you want to move quickly to be able to get the right people in the door. You don't want to put off the decision for weeks, for months. You want to make a decision quickly, but you have to let the system help you do that for you, because we got too many hats to cover, things to wear in our head, and we want you to do it faster, easier, and better. All right. Any point, Mar, there you want to add or comment?
Not, no, not really. I mean, just
Okay.
systems are always great. Like the more that you can systematize the business, it actually allows you to be more creative, to focus on other things, or to even just do hiring better. That yeah, all of these things are always gonna help you to run a more efficient business, and in the future, it makes your business more attractive if you try to sell it, or if you
Yeah.
want to move the absentee owner route. The more systems that you have in place, like Pipehire, the easier that's going to be.
Perfect. Great. Let's move on to number five. Will be full online identity lookup to make better hiring decisions. So in 2021, the employee social media monitoring is going to take more importance to understand your workforce and make better hiring decisions. Um, we tend to not look too much into their social media accounts, but there are professional companies out there that will go and look through all their social networks and give you a report of if they find obscene words or mentioning things that are something that you don't want to really deal with. So I looked it up, and there's a couple of companies there that will help you decide and look up somebody's social media profiles. That's going to give you a better understanding of who you're going to hire. And I think that's going to give us an edge as business owners to even make the hiring easier and faster, because you want to see how they behave in the real world, in their own personal lives, because ultimately that's going to be translated into your job. So if somebody's having issues then with drugs, let's say, and then you hire this person, you eventually are going to have somebody that's caught driving with a DUI. You're going to have somebody that's not going to show up for work. So you really want to do all the legwork possible before you bring them onto your company. And I see this that happens constantly. We tend to hire somebody quickly because we need somebody, but we don't do the due diligence and we bring in the wrong person. This then creates unhappy customers, refunds, complaints, bad reviews, and then you have to fire this person and start all over. So I recommend that you really uh, take the time, do the work, and bring in the right person. Another point to add on this identity lookup is the continuous MVR monitoring. That's motor vehicle report. Nowadays, there are systems and companies that will give you a motor vehicle report every quarter, every 6 months, or every year. Why? Because we tend to forget to monitor our current workforce, where there's a higher risk of failure than our new candidates that have not even started. I had an employee that got into jail a couple of years ago, and we were not monitoring her driving record, and she was getting into some DUIs and some other issues that popped up after I hired her. So you think that you brought the person in, now the background check is clear, everything looks good, but you tend to forget that they will get into trouble as well while working for you, especially if these people have been working more than 1 year with you. You need to rerun sometimes background checks, motor vehicle reports, to make sure that they're still in compliance with your rules, your regulations. So you have to do that. It's takes time, costs money, but you want to keep the right people in your staff, because they're not going to have a perfect life every time. Since you hire them, they're going to have issues. So I want to give you this: just keep the eyes open for monitoring your current workforce, which is where you have the higher risk of failure. All right, let's move on to remote office workers. Number 6 versus in-house. As more industries. Yeah.
Sorry, just one thing there is just make sure, guys, that you're aware of like local laws and stuff, because you can get into trouble with these sort of things. That everything that Juan just said is really good. It's really good to be aware of, but the same way that you can't exclude people when hiring, based on like the color of their skin and stuff like that. Every place has different like laws around that. And so just be careful. Like usually if you decide that someone's not a good culture fit for your maid service because of something that you see on social media, usually you're going to be within your rights to let them go, or to end that relationship. Where you really have to be careful is when like you're telling them like why they're being terminated. So just make
Correct.
sure that you're aware of local laws, so that you aren't hit with like a lawsuit like after of just like there are quite a few different ways that can happen. So just be careful and be cognizant of that when you're sort of implementing the advice that Juan was running through on the last slide.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you for adding that. Yeah, we always have to stay compliant with those laws, and you gotta be careful how you handle that, but just keep that in mind. All right, so number 6, the remote workers versus in-house. Currently, obviously more people have transitioned to completely remote businesses and operations. Particularly, I've been doing it for 10 years for my own cleaning business. I moved to another state while running my business and travel, and obviously things, as technology improves, this has become even easier. Most people always ask me, well, how do you handle the storage of your products and your office? And say, well, get a virtual mail address where you have a local office in that particular city where you live, and then get a 5x10 storage in any of the storage locations where you can have all your supplies and distribution. This tends to cost less than $100 a month versus thousands a month for a full office. So it's possible that you can run a very local business on a remote type of location. So most of my marketing, sales, and everyone on the phone, they are out of the US, and all of my web team, marketing team is out of the US as well. I only have a local manager that's taking care of distribution of products, meeting some customers face to face when it needs to, hiring and firing, obviously, and signing kind of documents. But everything that's going on in the office, marketing, social media, everything it's done virtually, remotely. This saves time, effort, and resources as far as cost wise. And you get great people in other countries that have you can give opportunities to other people in other locations. I like to support our local companies and employees here, but we're hiring 20, 35 people here at a local city. But when you start hiring more people for the office, it gets very expensive. So I recommend that you look into virtual assistants using the remote workers. And it's not hard, it's getting easier through the years. One of the tools that I use a lot is hubstaff.com, which allows me to monitor their screen while they're working. It takes screenshots and it gives you a report, and then you can pay them through PayPal or different methods. That's going to help you reduce cost and operate your business even easier. All right. Amar, you're an expert on remote as well. I'm sure you have a lot to say here. What do you have in your mind?
Just with this one, it's really just yeah, it's another one that COVID has really accelerated. That I think that remote workers have been a great option for maid services for years now. There are certain positions that you need to hire for locally, and there are some benefits to having people in person, but there's a lot of benefits to the flexibility that comes with being able to hire remotely. It doesn't necessarily mean overseas, but what are the chances that the best person for your social media team is actually going to be within 15, 20 miles of your office versus someone that maybe grew up in the area, knows it really well, but is now living 2 or 3 hours away. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for you to find better applicants and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it with that.
Perfect. Thank you. Number 7 will be onboarding process and candidate experience. Customer experience is key for our businesses, and we tend to forget that our customers, our employees, or applicants are also customers because they are like clients. They're looking to buy into a job promise and put their trust and effort to get a paycheck and be able to provide for their family and be able to reach their dreams. I see this process very fragmented and poorly designed for most of our industry. I'm constantly looking at cleaning businesses pages, and I found that their careers page, jobs page, is lacking a lot. It's kind of the last thing on their mind. It's outdated, and sometimes they have like a fax number to fax an application. So I really learned that my business brand and experience will attract the best candidates. If I really want A players for my company, I have to elevate the level of my own systems and my website. And I'm not typically looking for any candidate. I'm looking for the best candidate possible. So that's why I recommend that you elevate your hiring page, your careers page, and this is going to help you bring in the very best people for your company. Have another point here. Paying attention to this is going to bring you better text, better cleaning text, making your hiring process even easier and getting better results overall. When we try to hire anyone that comes our door, the first person, no, it's not that way. The hiring success really comes when you do your all the basics are done right, and then you do the due diligence before you bring this person on. So a lot of people, when starting this business, they just hire people, hire, but they forget that the most important jobs happens before you hire the person. And I really want to put this out there. Just make sure you do the best before you bring it on, because that's going to increase the success of these people at your company. All right, cool. So our next slide will be now really talking about Amar and his latest book that he's been working on. And Amar, why don't you tell us more about that book? What's going on? Who is it for? And then we can talk about those creating personas and the free giveaway that you have.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a book that the ZenMade team worked very hard on, based around a lot of the stuff that I've just learned over the years and everything. That for those of you that are on here that don't know me, like I run ZenMade.com. I previously ran Fast Friendly Spotless in Orange County, California. I think we had like 8 or 10 cleaners at our high point. I only ran that for just over a year. But in the past couple of years, I've personally spoken with, I think it's like 5 or 6 thousand maid service owners, right? So like I've just gotten a ton of experience through talking to people about the actual challenges, working with all of the industry consultants, like all of that stuff. And so let me see if I can actually even just pull this up here. So what we did is we put together the ultimate guide to hiring amazing cleaners. And that just runs through all of the things that we've learned about how to attract great cleaners. It's a lot of like the same stuff that Juan has touched on, like in this presentation and stuff, but it goes a bit more in depth. There are templates for stuff. It talks about different ways of filtering the candidates, of finding the perfect candidates. Like what Juan was saying about how to actually make your maid service attractive, because I think that there was a great point that he just made, like right towards the end there, that not enough people think about hiring as marketing, right? And that in a lot of ways, when you're trying to hire amazing cleaners, what you're actually doing is you're actually marketing your company to potential applicants as this is a great place to work. This is someplace that you want to be coming in and being a part of every single day. And I think that a lot more people would have an easier time. I think that they would find hiring a lot less frustrating if they had that sort of mindset like in place. And so, yeah, we essentially went through and published a book on that, on all of the different pieces. It even touches a little bit on onboarding and training, not like too much, but enough to give you guys like the start of a good onboarding system and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I read through it and I really like that you're given a structured way to do this because, there's so many good pieces of information out there, but there's not really a structured way to do it. So I really like that, you give a step-by-step process to hiring great people. And that's
Yeah.
our biggest challenge for everyone in our business. So one of the things I really like was the creating the right personas that you mentioned in your book. Why don't you tell us more about this and how they can, how it can help people when they apply it correctly to their business?
Yeah, definitely. So personas are pretty much just like kind of like a definition of like almost like the type of person. So a lot of people they think they know who they're trying to hire, but they don't actually have it well defined. And this is something that it's usually better to have it written down, particularly if you're trying to systematize, if you're trying to sell, if you're trying to, pass on the hiring to someone else like in the company. It's always better to have these things written down. Personally, I'm not really one to write too much down. That's what my team is for, is I tell them things and then they write it down. But a lot of people would be better served if they just had a really well-defined idea of who their ideal cleaner is. And so, it kind of depends a lot on personal preferences. This is why, like, it's an important thing to talk about, and it's why we have it on this slide saying that you guys need to create your personas, because your perfect cleaner may be different from the next maid service owner's perfect cleaner. And so an example of that is, so first of all is one thing that, at least in my opinion, is pretty much a must-have for everyone is everyone that you hire must be a good communicator. And that doesn't even mean that they have to speak great English, as Juan was talking about earlier in the presentation, but they have to have the ability to follow instructions. They have to be able to understand English, or to understand your instructions well enough, and to be able to follow them as well. And this is something that a lot of people forget, as well as communicate when they don't. And communicating when they don't understand something that you're telling them to do is oftentimes just as important, because as much as we want employees that will do everything that we want, we also don't want just like people that always say yes in the company, particularly if that runs into problems or where they go, oh yeah, like I can take care of this oven cleaning in half an hour, but like deep down they know it's going to take an hour, and then you actually end up losing money on providing that like that service, for example. So that's like something that like to me, if someone doesn't communicate well, if they don't have the ability to say no when something isn't possible, for me that's
Hmm.
going to be a deal breaker. Something that is a persona characteristic or trait that varies from maid service to maid service is that some people want to hire folks that already have a lot of cleaning experience. And particularly if you're hiring independent contractors, you want people that already know what they're doing. But if you're hiring actual employees and you're going to be training them and training them to clean in the method that, that you have in your maid service, whether that's, the speed cleaning approach from Debbie Sardone, or whether it's, an approach from one of the other consultants or just one of the other systems, some people want folks that already have cleaning experience, that know that they like the job, that that know that cleaning is something they're going to come in and they're going to stick with. There are other maid service owners that I know that are very, very successful that specifically try to hire people that do not already have cleaning experience,
Hmm.
that instead they're looking for folks that have the right attitude, that communicate well, oftentimes that have experience as like servers or in other service like kind of businesses. One thing there is I've found that those maid services tend to pay better, that if they're hiring people that already have cleaning experience, it'll usually be on the lower end of the spectrum. If they're trying to
Yeah.
hire folks that have more service experience but not more cleaning experience, then they'll tend to be paying, $18-20 an hour. Essentially paying better, and it's usually like a higher end client experience where the cleaning is just one part of what's really being delivered there. And so there's one section of the book that talks about defining this for your actual maid service, and for you personally, right? That like you as an owner are going to have different preferences about the people that you work with, right? For me, I tend to hire more extroverted people for ZenMaid because I'm more of an extrovert. I can be quite chatty and stuff. And like, as much as I like people that just come in and just get the job done, I also like the culture that we have. I like the feeling of family that we have. And so it's nice to have people that want to share a little bit more about their life in Slack and stuff like that. You may be exactly the opposite of that. You may be watching this and just being like, oh, that sounds terrible. Like that's what my field manager is there for, to like make friends with the employees and stuff like that. But yeah, essentially there's a part of the book that talks about actually defining that, how to figure out what's important to you and what really matters. And yeah, I mean, I think that's personas. I don't know if you got any specific questions on that one, or if there's anything that I can expand on.
Uh, no, I think that was perfect. I'm looking to see if I got some questions here. Let me check here. I have a question here. What do you think of hiring contractors versus hiring actual employees? This is a very well debated um, topic. Some people love hiring contractors, 1099, and some others W2 employees. What's your take on these two situations?
Yeah, so my take there is just that there's no right answer there. That's another one that, like the personas that we're talking about, it comes down to personal preference. And so there's obviously some very important differences between 1099 contractors versus W2 employees. And so it's just important that you're aware of, and that you're like aware of what those differences are, and and then essentially just make the decision for yourself. I would say like the main like two things that really come to mind as sort of like rules around this are, if you're just starting out and you don't have cleaning experience, you probably want to go with 1099 contractors because legally you can't train them. So you have to
Correct.
hire people that already have cleaning experience. It also comes down to, yeah, I think the no, I want to say like the kind of company that you want to run, but also like how involved that you want to be. That with
Mm-hmm.
1099 contractors, there's a lot less onboarding, there's a lot less training, but like everything else, there's pros and cons. And so
Correct.
most maid services that choose contractors over employees, they tend to have more quality control issues. And not to say that they're poor quality, but there just tends to be more of a variance that if you hire contractors, you can't say you have to do like the job this way, this way, this way. It's more like we're paying you to get this job done, get that job done in any way that you can. And so, of course,
Correct.
that leads to inconsistencies that sometimes your clients will get a very different experience from one team versus another team. And so, it's like so many things in life, it's just a decision that you have to make. And, there are pros and cons to both sides. It can be a headache to switch between the two, but it's also not impossible. So, don't get hung up on it, like on it too much.
Perfect. I want to add something there that 3 years ago, I for years I was running 1099 cruise,
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest draw or con that we notice is that they have this entrepreneurial mind, and when they come into your company, they're trying to eventually, obviously, learn more from your company and then go and up, or steal some of those clients and
Yeah.
continue, their own business. And it happened to me. I had this great technician, amazing person. Then suddenly, she's telling me, "No, look, I don't have more availability on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I'm busy."
Yeah.
And we started as a full week. And now I've noticed that some of my really good clients that were with me for years is starting to say, "Sorry, I have to cancel financial issues."
Yeah.
And then we noticed that they were basically being poached by this technician,
Mm-hmm.
and they were going with this technician.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the complete like, can't continue with this. And I made the
Yeah.
switch to W2 employees. I literally shut down that LLC, created a new
Mm-hmm.
one, and started fresh in a new year. And the transition from 1099 to make them employees is like you're gonna lose 50% of those people
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're in this situation, be sure that you're gonna lose 50% of those people, and eventually some of them, as you start the new year, they're gonna drop the job because they are now with the schedule. They have to do the job certain way.
Yeah.
They have control. There's tracking hours, there's tracking time, and all these things eventually turn them off, and they end up going in their own direction, and then you lose all that effort. So
Yeah.
that was my experience. So
Yeah, the transition period there can definitely be like difficult. It's more that like if you're set in one or the other, then there's like the different pros and cons. But yeah, that's a very good thing to be aware of, is that people that want to work with you as an independent contractor, if that's like the agreement that they joined your company under, and then you switch it to employees, that's a very, very big change, right? That like we offer, we've got quite a few contractors at ZenMaid, and one of the big reasons for that is it gives them a lot of flexibility. It allows them to say, no, I'm not going to be working Tuesday afternoon because I want to go to my kids' like baseball game, for example. And the
mhm,
instant that you change them to employees, and like you can now say like, you have to be there at this time, that completely changes the relationship and also the
completely.
value proposition, right? So yeah, I mean, it's the grass is always greener. There's always going to be benefits to having contractors over employees, and there's always going to be benefits to having employees over contractors. I guess one thing that might be telling for the people that are watching this is, so I initially, when I ran my own maid service in California, we used independent contractors. And that was in large part because I didn't have the cleaning experience. I didn't have the training system in place, like all of like this stuff. If I were
Mm-hmm.
going to start another maid service today, I would definitely be working with employees, and that's
Yeah.
just based on the experience that I've now gained. That like I would want to be in control of all of the little
Yep.
details, and of course I'd use Pipe Hire and ZenMaid.
Great. One of the other changes that I've noticed, and to answer this more in deep question to the person, is when you have them as W2 employee, you have the opportunity to provide them benefits, health insurance, or some type of,
Hmm.
AFLAC. You can do
Yeah.
vacation paid, gym, whatever, anything that you want to come up with, AAA, towing, all of those things.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that when you are offering this and you kind of built in this cost into your overall cost of goods sold and your labor, but when you have all this planned, the retention of this workforce is just amazing. People will
Hmm.
stay for such a long time. And I want to say this again. This past weekend that I have our Christmas party with my employees, one of them told me, my son works at a gym here, big companies here in Dallas for as a gym manager, and they don't offer any benefits. And how is possible that my mom works at a cleaning business and they have all
Hmm.
these benefits?
Yeah.
And obviously that comes from as far as culture and what do you want to provide to your employees. But when you're able to extend benefits and goodies and things that you cannot do with contractors, the problem of retention, the problem of turnover, employees quitting left and
Yeah.
right, just diminishes
Yeah.
80%, just making that change. And now the rest of it is just the other 20% is really hiring that right person. So in the last years, I have seen probably one or two people leaving my company because they're moving away or they just got tired of it. But I haven't had anyone since I made the change just quit randomly, unexpectedly, because they just found something else. They just say, I love working here. I'm not getting this type of benefits anywhere else. I just keep this job and stick with it until I can do it. So I recommend that anyone that's talking about or listening to this and is thinking on employees versus contractors to take a hard look at these things, because you will solve the problem of turnover and retention by
Yeah.
really making it an attractive position.
Yeah. I think it's very hard to develop a real culture if all of
Mhm.
your cleaners are independent contractors. That, I
It is.
mean, you can tell just from like what you've touched on with your Christmas party and just with that story with the gym owner,
Yeah.
that you guys have a very, very strong culture. And it's very difficult to do that
Yeah.
when, yeah, when you don't have that sort of like control, not even just the benefits, but yeah, there's quite a few factors that go into it from a culture perspective. Actually, now that I think about it, that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I would probably want to use employees if I was going to start over again. I just don't think that I would enjoy working with contractors, even if it might be a
Yeah.
bit more profitable and you don't have to pay for supplies and like stuff like that. I just don't think that I would feel very fulfilled building a company like that anymore.
I feel like when you're building with contractors, in my opinion, it's like I'm building a house on sand.
Mm,
They can go anytime, do whatever they want, and that's my opinion. And hopefully, some people will listen to this and make the right decision. And let's wrap up with your free giveaway that you mentioned to me, and how that works.
yeah, so if you guys go, I need to remember what the actual URL is here. I think it's hiring ad free. We'll send out a link to this like after. So essentially, what we've done is a lot of people struggle with the with like actually having a an attractive ad, that I touched on this before, that a lot of people don't look at hiring as like an extension of your marketing. And when you actually are thinking about it that way, and you think about how you have to actually make your maid service an attractive place to work in order to attract quality applicants and to get the right people in the door, we essentially went through, we found like maybe 4 or 5 of the absolute best hiring ads that we've seen for cleaning services. I know one was like Debbie Sardone's. We found a couple other really good ones. And what we did is we essentially combined them into an almost choose your own adventure template of like, here are maybe the 6 or 7 sections that your hiring ad should have. And here's 2 or 3 great examples of companies that have like had this section just absolutely nailed down. The benefits, you know, the stuff like that. And so all you guys have to do is go to zenmade.com/hiring ad free with a dash in between, and you can download this for free. This is normally something that we charge for. And then the nice thing here is the hiring book that I was just talking about will be available for you on the next page, that you can buy if you are interested. But this is something that if you take this template, you know, make it your own, adjust it for your company, you're going to get higher quality applicants. You're going to have an easier time when you are hiring, depending, you know, usually we recommend that you should be hiring all the time, but maybe you're at a size where you only need to hire like once a quarter. This is something where you're just not going to have to, like, you know, go back and rewrite an ad every time you want to list on Craigslist or on Indeed or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's the place to go. Zenmade.com/hiring-ad-free. And yeah,
Awesome.
that's you know,
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Mar, I don't know if you have any other closing comments or not, but appreciate your time. It's been amazing. I learned tons from you. I always read your newsletters. I think you do a great job, and I've, you know, thankfully we've kind of become more friends as we grow our businesses. If you guys have any questions about any of our products, you can email us at support@pipehirehrm.com. Join our group on Facebook as well. You can look up Amar on, I get all the masterminds on Facebook, and he's everywhere. And I'm sure you guys will find great resources at his group. And we appreciate your time. I hope you have a great time on your trip that you're planning. And I'm going also tomorrow, flying out to have a little vacation time. I hope everyone takes the time for that. And have a great Christmas and New Year.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Juan. This has been great.
All right. Thank you, Amar. Have a great night. Bye-bye.